Greetings and welcome to another fun-filled episode of Photoshop Party. Everybody's got their party drinks going on. We're good to go. Today we're going to talk about head swaps. Um, and hopefully the way I do it is going to make it really easy for you. So that's the important thing, is making it as easy as possible. And let's go ahead and get started. If you have questions while we're doing this, feel free to interrupt and ask your questions. Because if you forget, then what happens is you forget and you won't remember your question later on. So I don't need Nick filters. I'll close that out to give me room over here. And as you can see, everybody can see my screen right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Coach number one, he's got closed eyes. Coach number one, not much better. He's looking off to the side, but we're going to use that face on this image. So we're going to make it really easy to do, and I'll show you the trick to it. So let's make him Command 0.
That include a hat swap too?
Yeah, probably. Well, we'll fix the hat while we're here too. We'll take care of that as well. So let's go ahead and do a face swap real quick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this image and I'm going to drag him on top of the other one, hold the shift key down, which will center it. And you can see that.
I'm glad we turned off our phones.
Well, if it's an important call, I would take it, but it's not an important call, so I hope not anyway. You can see that there is movement with everybody in between the two shots, which is okay. What I'm going to try is hold the shift key down and select both layers, go to go to edit auto align layers, and we'll see if it comes close. I want to get his face close as I can. Nope, didn't do it. So we'll just hit Command Z to undo what we did. And what I'm going to do, I'm mainly worried about his head, not the girl's head. So what I'm going to do is zoom in on him. I am going to change the layer mode from normal down to difference. Difference. D-I-F-F-E-R-E-N-C-E. Difference. And you can see it shows his hat, especially how far apart they are. I'm going to use the move tool to move the upper layer and try and match. Mainly want to match the eyes, but if I can get his head really close, you can see what happens is everything goes fairly dark when you're close. So I'm going to use the move tool a little bit more, make sure the eyes are where I want them, which is right about there, because he did move his head. Now I'm going to change it back. If it goes black when you're in difference mode, that means everything's lined up. If there's any color, it's not lined up. So I'll go back to normal. And then I'm going to hit the layer mask. And I'm going to take B for brush, go to a soft round brush. And I'm going to hit D for default, and I want to have the black as my main brush. And what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of this layer with black as default, and that didn't line up well. So let's move him.
He's winking. That's cool. There we go.
Yeah.
Kids will like that.
Okay, that's more lined up and better. So what I'm going to do is just using my soft round brush, I'm going to paint with black just over the eyes, because that's all I need to fix. I could drop the nose in as well to make sure the nose is positioned like it's supposed to be. Okay, we'll move the mouth as well. But he had a smile, so I want to keep the smile. So I'm going to hit X to exchange the colors from black to white, paint with white, and bring a smile in.
So can I ask a question?
No, you didn't say please. Yes, you may.
So do you, which layer is on the top? Our screen's too small. The bad,
The bad layer I have on top. Let me,
is that important?
no,
Okay,
either layer works, but with the bad layer on top, I just paint out the bad, which shows the good.
okay,
It works better for me that way.
okay.
So if I fill with, or I'm going to hit Command I on my layer mask, Command I, which turns it off and turns it back on again, or you can hold the Shift key down to turn it off.
Wait, you said hold the shift key to what?
As I click on the layer mask, I'm holding the Shift key,
Uh-huh.
and you can see it puts a red X on the layer mask, which turns
Right.
it off.
Right. Okay.
Mike, can you compare the original image to the one that you just fixed? Because looking at his teeth, are they?
His mouth is a little bit off there. So probably what I would have to do, let me go back to the very beginning. And we drag layer. Let's go back to open. We added the layer in there. So we have, this is the original. So he's off, whoops. So he's off by a whole lot there. So I'm going to go to difference mode.
You're just making a copy of the bottom layer, right?
No, the top layer is actually the bad layer. You can see his eyes are closed right now.
Right.
And then the bottom layer is the one with his eyes open.
Oh. So you don't make a copy of the good.
No,
Oh, okay.
I'm just working with the two layers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up the layers. First, I'm going to go to difference mode, which makes it, shows me the difference right there. Hit V for move tool. I'm going to try and line up his face as best I can. Change to normal mode. And you can also drop the opacity so you can see the difference there as well.
So it's more transparent.
Yeah, just change the opacity down so it's transparent and you can see through it. If I hit Command T, I can rotate a little bit to make sure everything's lined up on him. The best thing to do is make sure everything is lined up as best you can. And the eyes are probably the most important right now. So let's go ahead and make sure. If I line up the ears and the hat, his eyes should line up as well, and his nose. And just go into layer mask, paint with black to make it disappear out of the mask. This time they lined up a little bit better.
And with black.
And you want to do 100% on the brush, soft edge brush. If you do a hard edge brush, your tracks are going to show when you finish it. The soft edge brush will make the tracks not show as much.
Layer when you're working here.
I'm working on the top layer, which has the blink. And even still, it's slightly off a little bit as I change.
So how do we think of this? We think of it as the two layers are sandwiched with the good one under it, and then you're bringing
Right. And I'm
back the black.
I'm basically erasing out the bad part using the layer mask.
Okay.
I could use the eraser tool, but then you can't go back and change it if you need to later on.
Right.
That's
And
why I
there
use.
were two different times you mentioned holding the shift key, and I heard the first one, but I didn't understand why you mentioned it a second time.
Okay. Holding the shift key while hitting the layer mask will turn the layer mask on and off.
No, I know that. No, way back, you held the shift key down to drag the image 1 over image 2.
Okay.
What do you call that? What do you call that area where those are listed above? Is there a name for that? How do I write a note of like where that is?
The tabs.
Oh, they're tabs. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The reason I hold the shift key is so it centers the image right in the middle of it.
And then you mentioned a shift again, not the one that gives you the X over the, you just mentioned doing something else where you held shift.
I hold the shift key down to turn on and off the mask so you can see.
But there was one other time you had mentioned the shift before that. I don't know what it
Does it
was.
line them two up?
No, that was earlier.
Uh,
All right, maybe I just imagined it. All right.
There should be two things for doing the shift.
All right,
one is when I drag this one up. So I'll hit V, move it up to the tab, hold it down still, and then hold the shift key down. And what it does, it lines it up so the image is centered 100% there.
That's cool. Thanks.
Another shortcut you could do if you use Bridge, and I think you can do this in Lightroom as well. You can see I have 2 layers selected. So I right click on here, go to, oops, I have to go up to the top to Tools, Photoshop, load files into Photoshop layers. And what that will do is stack them on top of each other. So when they come into Photoshop, it's already in a layer. You don't have to worry about dragging it over.
Right, I understand.
So back to Photoshop again. And I said I was going to fix this hat, didn't I?
Could be a Dodger hat.
I don't have a Dodger hat on file right now. So what we'll do is make sure we're on the working layer. Right now, you see there's a box around the mask. If I click on the layer, now there's a box around the layer. That shows me I'm working on the layer. So if I was in the mask and I tried to select the San Francisco logo, it wouldn't do it. So I have to click on the layer. And if you want to paint on the mask and you're like, let's say I wanted to paint it with white to paint it in, I'm on the image itself, so it won't work. I'd have to go back to the mask to paint it back in. So make sure I'm on the image. I'm going to lasso the stupid fellow. And I'm going to hit F3. And I'll tell you what F3 does in just a second. And now the hat's all better.
You don't say that about all the family portrait people you do you?
Just the ones with the San Francisco hats on, yes. Yes, I was born and raised a Dodger fan, so sorry about that. Now I'm a Kansas City fan. Okay.
Sorry about that too, Michael.
Where does the image go? Yes, San Francisco.
I'm going to walk through it real quick for you. Okay, we have selection done right now. And the action that I do is called content aware fill. And what it does, I'll walk through each step without doing the action. I go to select, modify, expand, and I expand 3 pixels of my selection that I do. The reason for is, like at the top, I didn't get a perfect selection up here, and it expands just a little bit to make sure I get enough of it. It's just a safety precaution. Then I go to edit, fill, content aware. Everything is the standard color adaptation, mode, normal, opacity 100%, click OK. And then Command D to deselect, and that fills in the hat. And you can see,
so you just made an action of this?
I made an action of this, yes.
Okay.
And if you guys like, I can show you how to make the action, or I can just send you the action. I'd be happy. Just send me an email or put your email in the chat, and I'll be happy to send you the action at no charge. I mean, that's the least I can do for everybody showing up. So,
Thank you.
The command fill, content aware fill is just fantastic. And if I'm doing like the lines on the side here, I just do a lasso and I have my action built. So I just click on F3 and it takes care of the lines for me. So it's just so much easier for me to do. And sometimes you have to do it a couple times because you screw up or it screws up, and you just fill it in as it goes. Okay, let's close this guy out. Command W, don't save. Command W. And for those that are interested, I'm doing a program for Gold Coast on August 16th, talking about my Africa adventure that I just got back from, showing some pretty pictures and talking about all the things that happened there, which good and bad. So if you're interested, we'll send you a link to that. It's going to be on Zoom and we're going to have a good time. I hope. Okay, this one I'm not going to do the head swap on, but I'm going to show you the original and then I'm going to show you the finished product. This is the original. The lady in white belongs to the man on the left. The lady in black belongs on the man on the right. So that just didn't work for the people that had this old picture. So this is what she wanted. It took me probably an hour to figure it out and 20 minutes to do it. So what I did is I made a background copy and then I copied her, moved her over to the left, and you can see I did a mask to get rid of everything that was there. Moved her over to the right, just doing cutout. And then you have your final product, which is cleaned up. You can see cracks in the walls and other things that got cleaned up for the final product. But probably the hard part is just trying to figure out what you're going to do with it. I mean, that was
Could you go over how you moved them? I mean, it was.
No, I can't do that.
That was lightning fast.
Okay, let's go to the beginning. And what I did is I made a copy of the background. And what I did was erased out a little bit of her so that the lady on the left would fit in there without a problem. I took her by herself. I cut her out and added her to the background copy. So now I have both of her.
How do you cut her up? I don't even know how to do that.
Okay. Let's go ahead and.
Maybe everybody else knows this stuff. I don't know.
That's okay. We've shown it a few times on the program, but we'll do it again. Delete layers. Okay. Probably the easiest way with the new version of Photoshop is I'm going to go to my selection tools, which is object selection, which is a wonderful tool. I'm going to use the lasso portion of it and just go around and select her. And object selection does the work for me, except there's a few little glitches like on the bottom right of her, which we'll have to fill in. So we'll try it again with the object selection tool, which is in the W's. If you hit W, it'll bring up object selection, quick selection, or magic wand. If you hold the shift key down, here we go with that dang shift key again, it will cycle through each of the tools. So if I hit shift W, it goes through each tool. Right now it's a magic wand. Shift tool or shift W brings object selection tool. Shift W again will bring quick selection tool. So I'm going to do object selection tool again, and I'm going to select this area here and add it in. Whoops. It helps if you hold the shift key down or push the button on the very top on the left, which is add to selection. So every time I do it now, it's going to add.
Mhm.
A little bit more right there just to make it perfect. Not enough to select. Okay. I don't care. That's close enough for now. So now we have her selected, and it's a fairly good selection. So I'm just going to hit Command J, which brings her up on her own layer. And with that, I'm going to go back down to my background layer, and I'm going to select this lady. So I'm going to use the object selection tool again and just draw a quick selection around her. Whoops. I kind of missed a little bit there.
Mike, can I ask you a question real quick?
No, I'm working here.
Okay.
Go ahead, Anthony.
With Command J, I was always in the impression it made a copy of the bottom layer.
It makes a copy if you have a layer selected or the whole layer selected.
Right.
It will make a copy of the layer. Right now, you can see I have a selection of her, and I'm trying to get the selection a little bit better. Come on, get in there. Thank you. And a little bit on the bottom left. Okay, she's selected. I have a selection up on the screen now. So I'm going to hit Command J, and what that will do is put the selection on a new layer. So if I hit Command J, you now have
okay.
This selection was added to it.
Okay.
And the way I turn off all the layers except for one is to hold the Option or Alt key. And that turns off all my layers except for the one I'm working with. So I can go up here, turn off, or I can turn off everything. And then what I have to do is, we're on layer 2, which is the lady in black, hit the move tool. I'm going to slide her over to here just to get her in place. And then I'm going to take the lady in white, slide her over to the left. And then it's just a matter of a little bit of cloning to get rid of all the stuff in the background that you don't want.
Put it right here. Where did that movement
Huh.
So what I need to do is, quit doing that. Hold Command key, click. I need to hide a lot of her in the background here. So I'll just need to clone out using the clone stamp tool. And I'll start.
You're on the wrong layer.
Don't tell me what I'm doing. I'm cheating because I can use current and below.
All of these people were in my high school class. I can't believe that you know them all.
I know everybody. Okay, in this particular instance, what I'm going to do is I'm on the background layer. So if I hit Command J, it makes a copy of the background. So I'm going to turn off those top 2 layers. I'm going to select right about here to start my copy. And the reason I do that is there's a sleeve there that has a line. So it makes it easy to line up where I'm going. And so I can keep that line going straight down and just filling in. And then I'll have to reselect over here. So when I add her in, V for move, wrong one. I can just put her in there, and you can see where I need to go with her as far as cloning things out. So erase her, and then I would clone out the hair on her head. I would clone out more of the white on there, which would get it out. It would take me a few minutes to do, so I don't think you guys want to see me do a whole cloning thing there. But this is a project we would work on at West Coast School in the class so you can get used to doing it.
So what would you charge for the swap then?
She was a close friend, so I think I only charged her $50 or $75 for that.
Mhm.
I didn't charge very much. It probably, the hard part was just thinking about how I was going to do it.
Right.
That was the hardest part for me. And then you just got to clone out everything that doesn't fit and make her fit right. So this is,
Well, next time I go to a reunion and have to take the pictures, I'm gonna make sure they're in the right place before I take the picture.
you know, it does help. And it also helps if you plan ahead. Let's add this one.
Hey, are you with him?
Okay, I had two images. Let me open these both up, close out that one, don't save. And we're going to go to Window, Arrange, Tile All Vertically. I'm going to change it. There we go. So we got it right. Okay, when I did this image, I had a whole bunch of people here in the picture. Two people I was told were going to show up late because they do every single year. So I set up the image with all these people in there. And then I knew if I left this slot open right here, I could just drag them in. Well, some dummy, I'm not going to mention my assistant's name, which is me, forgot to bring their tripod.
Oh,
So I had to line everything up separately to make it match. So of course, let's do this. V for move, drag these people up here, hold the shift key down so it lines up fairly close. I'm going to close that image out. And now you can see I have two different images. Whoops. But it's not lined up like I wanted it to be. No problem. Go into difference mode. Take this layer and try to line up all the different stuff, which comes close, but not quite. Go back to normal. And what I would do is actually, let me unlock that. I'm going to put this layer down below, take my mask, and I'm going to paint with black. I'm going to B for brush, have the black tool up on the mask, and I'm going to paint these people in. Don't forget their legs. And it doesn't match up perfectly. And I'm not going to worry about this hat because it's the correct color hat. But you can see if you line it up ahead of time, knowing where you're going to put the people, dropping them in only takes 30 seconds to a minute if you remember to bring your tripod.
are they the owners, owners' kids?
Yeah, the guy, I think this is the owner right here, and it's his employees and family, mostly employees from a wine company, Aubin Clement in, where are they? Outside of Santa Maria. They asked me to shoot that. And
Is there anything that could be done with just cut, paste, and rotate or transform a little bit? Or that doesn't work?
you can. I just thought it'd be easier just to line everything up and
Yeah, well, your way
brush
looks
them in.
great. I just wondered if that other even has a chance.
Well, let's try it. Open. And let me open up this other image again. So we're going to go to lasso. Command C, which is copy, or you can go edit, copy, either one. And now I can close this because I've got it copied. Command V to paste, or you can go edit, paste, either one. And take the move, let's zoom in so we know where we're going. V for move tool. And this is where the keyboard shortcuts come in handy. So you don't have to keep looking for everything. So we'll go to my layer, go to difference. What I want to do is I want to line up
Ooh.
and
That's
Command
great.
T.
You're still using difference. That's great the way you're using it. I love it.
It just makes it easier for me. You can do the normal and then just drop the opacity down to line things up.
Okay.
But when you do difference, it will show in black when it's perfectly lined up for you.
It's great.
And I think that's fairly close. Let's go ahead and bring the opacity back up. And then I'm going to have to mask out or erase, whichever you prefer. And you can see I didn't line up everything perfectly on the pole right here. So I'd have to fix that.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time. That's good. Thanks a lot.
No problem. Any other questions?
No, that's great.
So does that help you, Anthony, and get an idea how to?
Yeah. That's incredible. I just, you're gonna save me a lot of time, things I need to change. So thank you.
Uh-huh. And one more really quick one. You can see the face on here on the guy, which is my grandson. It's not exactly a great smile. That one's a little bit better. This is where I would do a cut and paste really quick. So I lassoed, Command C to copy, close him out, Command V to paste. And again, I'd go with the difference mode again. V for the move tool, get him sort of lined up, back out a little bit, Command T to transform. So you can line up the eyes and the ears, which is not going to be perfect. Go back to normal mode. And then take your brush after you put on a layer mask, soft edge brush, and try and get it so where it's matching up pretty good. The larger the brush, the softer the edge. So you can leave stuff on there and get away with it. I just have to clean up around his neck area right there to make it work. So I'm going to have to clone in that. But other than that, I mean, it works very well.
Yeah.
And how long did that take? Other than having to clean up this area right here on his shirt?
Oh,
I could go to the bottom layer and we'll go to the clone stamp tool. And we'll just kind of cheat a little bit, take some branches out of there, take out some head. So when I turn this layer back on,
When he cloned out the.
Basically cloning tree behind him to make things look like they belong there. So if you didn't know that I cloned that, I guess there's a little round circle right there that you'd have to take out and make it look normal. So we'll go to the second layer, make sure we're on the, just bring in some extra leaves. Make it all random looking. And in about 2 minutes, you got a head swap.
Great.
Okay, any other questions out there?
What percentage of the time do you think you're doing just the eyes as opposed to the whole head?
I would say probably 75 to 80%. Because that normally you're just getting rid of a blink.
Right.
Sometimes you have to change the smile or things like that. And you want to make sure that you, when you change out a smile, that the eyes match the smile. Because when somebody smiles, you can see it in the eyes as well as the face. So you got to make sure that they match up. When I'm doing events, I shoot 3 images. If there's a couple, there's 3 images. So if he blinks, she blinks, I hopefully have one good one. Back in the days of film, you got away with 1, maybe 2 images. With digital, it doesn't cost you a dime except a little bit more time. And there are companies that do head swaps and stuff for you for $1.50 or $2. Sometimes it's worth it just to send it out.
Who do you like?
I use Rebuku.
How do you spell that?
REBOOKU. Let me see if I've got a discount code for you. I'm not sure I still have that available. I do not. Trying to find.
Do you have a contact person there you like?
It's all online. Most of the time they do it for a reasonable price. Here we go. Let's go back to this program, screen share, Photoshop. Take a screenshot of that. I think it's a 10 or 15% discount, but their prices are very inexpensive. I also use Miller's Professional Imaging, who I highly, highly, highly recommend. I love Miller's. I've been with them for a long time, probably 20 years now.
Can you bring it back up again? Bring it up.
I didn't hear you say please.
Please. Thank you.
Says here, Rebuku has image extraction starting at just $1.50 per image. That's pretty cheap.
That's extractions for sure. Head swaps. I'm not sure if they do head swaps. I know Miller's does, and being that I've used Miller's for my lab. You got that, Anthony?
Is that a 0 or a no?
Yeah, I got it. I've been with Miller's for 30 years.
Okay.
Is that a 0 or an O before the F?
I believe, I don't know for sure. I don't know why they do that. You can try it both ways. I don't know for sure. Sorry.
Right. So Miller's would charge like $120 an hour probably, wouldn't they?
No.
Head swap is probably $8 to $10.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, they're extremely reasonable on their retouching.
That's a O. That's not a 0.
Okay, that's an O.
That's an O.
If Anthony says it's an O, it's an O.
It's an O.
Um,
Shut up, Mel.
I've I've used Miller's for the last 20 years, and if you're not satisfied, you call customer service. They will redo it at no charge, no questions asked, have it for you back out the next day. They FedEx everything next day shipping, so you have it the next day,
They're incredible.
to
Yes,
say the
they are.
least. And that's not just because I'm sponsored by Miller's, but I love Miller's. I always have.
Yep.
So they've always taken care of me.
I had, and I'm sure all of you, and through this one time or another, I had one client that I photographed the wedding, and the grandparent died the week after wedding and everything. And I called Miller's up, sent a picture in, and it was virtually on my doorstep.
If you can beat their shipping time in the afternoon, they will ship it that day, especially if you have an emergency like that. But if I do an image, if I send an order in by 10 o'clock in the morning, California time,
Right.
I would normally have it back on my porch whenever FedEx showed up that day at my house.
Yep.
Yep.
And usually I did the same thing. And fortunately, sometimes I would get it in the morning the next day.
Yeah.
So,
And I had a 16 by 20 that the color was off on it. And I called customer service. They said, no problem. It'd be there tomorrow. And it was. So I didn't have to send it back. Didn't have to do anything with it. And if you're not happy with the retouching, they'll help you with that as well. Other questions? Wow, that was easy today.
thank you for sending these pictures between you and Mel of your safari. It was incredible photographs.
It was incredible. It was a trip to remember. And I'm not even putting up the good pictures yet. I got to wait till print comp before I do those. So, anybody have any suggestions for next week's program?
How about you, Yogi?